You're listening to continuing coverage in the Las Vegas Reporter murder trial of Robert Tellez from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today. Now, back to the courtroom.
Metro Police, if there's anybody in here, make yourself known.
Okay.
Closed door on the left in front of you. Okay, once you move that, we will walk.
I got the kitchen. Okay.
Closet there. Alright.
Once they move up, we'll move up right here and you hug that wall.
Okay.
And if you want to go with them, then I'll cover down here.
Clear. Good. Clear. I'm going to hold it. To the rear.
It's got a kitchen back here. You guys ready?
Yep.
The kitchen kind of looks like it's closed off to the right, and then so it wraps up around to the left. So I'm just going to push through. Ready?
Yep.
Straight room, straight room. Alright. Clear back here.
Slider lock.
It is locked.
I checked the outside already.
Visual clearance from here. It looks like it's clear.
You should run back. Yeah, before we got here. Around the side.
Day 12 code for residence is clear.
It looks like any here.
Alright. Any sign of a struggle or drawers open or anything like that in there? Any what you guys saw?
No ransack. Nothing in here.
Okay. Alright. Where's he at, right here?
The only thing is the gravel slightly disturbed right here.
Right here?
Like really right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's gravel and everything else.
Stop it here for a second. Sergeant, I noticed that you didn't touch the body in any way. Why didn't you do that?
Because at this point, I don't know what we have. I don't know exactly what happened. So I'm not going to touch anything in case there's anything of evidentiary value. I'm allow detectives to come out and they can do that.
Okay. And when you have a dead body, do people start to touch the body before the coroner investigator shows up, or do they usually leave it alone?
Usually they leave it alone.
Okay. Resuming at
I
2712.
couldn't see real well. You said there's a cut on his neck right there?
Looks like on the left side.
Yeah, like by the shirt there? Where the shirt's kind of like a hole in the shirt there? Okay. Alright. How'd you guys hang out? Did you guys make contact with anybody over here? When do you guys knock on the door, see if anybody's there, anybody's talking? Okay, yeah, I'll talk to him, and then I'll have you just hang out over here. Oh, well, somewhere over here, so we'll just don't let anybody come over to the body.
I already talked to her. I already got her. Jeff. What's this house again?
I didn't see cameras.
Hey, when is last night? What time was it that he came over here?
We said December's going now.
Okay, around 8 o'clock-ish. Okay. And how does he know this guy? His neighbor?
Bernice, he said he came over, yesterday, not this okay, but I came back this morning, and then tried to find him.
Pause it here. Move forward a little bit. So you essentially walk out past Bronze Circle. And then who is this individual here?
That is my lieutenant.
Okay. Resuming at 3120.
Oh, okay. Yeah, possibility. So, because there's no, he said it looks like there's blood around his neck, but there's no, you can't see anything of where it's coming from. So it very well could have come out of his mouth or started, whatever the case is. Could have had a heart attack, I don't know. So I was going to call the coroner, have the coroner come out. PD's in or out, they can do their thing. And then if coroner determines that it's going to be suspicious, then we'll start notifying homicide. Unless you want me to call them now, give them a heads up and see if they want to send somebody out.
Have the coroner come out.
Okay.
Let's have the coroner come out. I agree with you. Just looking at it, it really looks like he just had a sudden drop and hit something there.
Yeah.
So let's do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So request a coroner and I need this.
So ultimately, you're the one that radios in to bring in the coroner's office.
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness.
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down and you are excused from your subpoena.
Thank you.
You may call your next witness.
Okay. We are going to call Detective Derek Chappie.
Detective Jack.
I think I'm okay.
Please step up to the witness stand. Remain standing, raise your right hand, face the clerk.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Derek Jappy, D-E-R-E-K, J-A-P-P-E.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. If you could tell this jury what you do for a living.
Yes, I'm a detective with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
All right. How long have you been with Metro?
I've been employed for 17 years.
What division or what unit are you currently assigned to?
I'm assigned to the Criminal Intelligence Section and a detective in the Public Corruption Squad.
All right. Before we get to that, how long have you been in criminal intelligence for?
6 years.
All right. Prior to that, where were you?
So I was a patrol officer. From there, I went to a problem-solving unit. Then I became a detective in probably 11 years ago in the construction theft unit. Then I was a detective in an auto theft task force, the commercial robbery section, and then public corruption squad.
Okay. 1 second. All right, so tell us a little bit about what Criminal Intelligence Public Corruption Squad does.
Yeah, so we investigate anybody that holds public trust. If you're in a position where the public should trust what you're doing, we would do those type of investigations.
All right. So you've investigated public officials in the past?
Yes. The type of people that we investigate are typically police officers, lawyers, judges, politicians, things along those lines.
All right. I want to talk a little bit about someone by the name of Robert Tellis. Do you know Robert Tellis?
Yes, I do.
Do you see him here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please point out where he is and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
Yes, he's a gentleman over here wearing a gray suit.
Okay. What sort of color shirt is he wearing?
To the far right of the
All right,
table.
let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant. So, if we could, tell me a little bit about how you get put in contact with the defendant.
In the beginning of March of 2022, through my chain of command, I was asked to contact Mr. Tellis, reference information that he had, or that he believed that there was corruption that was taking place within the probate court.
Okay. And so that is approximately 6 months before Jeff Gehrman dies. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. At that time, what position did Robert Tellis hold within Clark County?
Yes, he was the elected public administrator in Clark County, Nevada.
All right. When you meet with him, do you meet with him in March?
Yes, I do.
All right. And when you meet with him in March, is it in person at first? Is it over a phone call? How does it work?
Initially, it was a phone call. After the phone call, he briefly discussed the allegations that he had through his own investigation. From there, he sent me an email outlining his investigation. And then a couple days after that, we met in person to further discuss what his investigation showed.
Do you remember the date that meeting occurred on?
I believe it is March 6th or March 7th of 2022.
Okay. So, if you could, who did Mr. Tellis allege was doing something inappropriate in the world of public administration?
It was Compass Realty and then employees within Compass Realty.
Okay. What did he say Compass was doing with people who pass away who don't have wills?
There's multiple allegations that Mr. Tellis was claiming. Some of those allegations were that Compass Realty was not notifying the next of kin that they were taking possession of their residence. Secondly, that they were filing false documents to the court, not showing the actual value of the residence, as well as they were selling the residences to employees of Compass Realty, which would be a violation of that statute.
Okay. When Mr. Tellis brought this information to you, did he provide supplementary information to back up some of the things that he was telling you about?
Yes, he did.
Okay. When he came to you, did you take his allegations seriously?
Yes, of course.
All right. If you could, tell us a little bit about what happens when someone dies. Let's just use an example of a house. So, because you investigate all of this for a while, would that be fair?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So when someone dies, and let's say they own a house and they don't have a will, what kind of happens to the house?
The house would just sit vacant if there's no family members that they can get a hold of, or if there's no one if a person dies and there's no one that can be contacted, the house goes into like a vacant status. From there, it will sit that way unless there's a next of kin or unless there's a will. From that point, if there is no next of kin, it just stays empty.
Okay. So do you have an example? Let's say the police enter a home and they find someone's passed away inside the home and they determine that this person doesn't have a will. Is there someone that the police would contact to get them involved with administering this estate?
Yes, if someone passes away inside their house and police are notified, we would contact the public administrator's office to come take possession of that residence.
Okay, and then at that point they would take over and engage in the process, let's say fixing up the home and then ultimately maybe reselling it to set up proceeds for next of kin or something along those lines.
Correct.
Okay, but is there another scenario where, let's say, the public administrator's office is not informed, where a private real estate company could somehow insert itself?
Yes, from my understanding, if someone passes away and they're not inside the residence and there is no next of kin, then that house, as we stated, sits vacant. When it sits vacant, either there's liens put on the house through various utility companies, or there are delinquent taxes, things along those lines, which would notify realty companies or probate lawyers that the house is vacant.
So essentially, the bills start to pile up.
Correct.
And if a real estate company is watching liens being filed with court systems, they can learn, oh, we potentially have a vacant house.
Yes.
At that point, can a company file something with the court to become an independent administrator, independent of the PA's office?
Yes.
Okay. And is that essentially how Compass's role fits in, inserting themselves as an administrator?
Correct. And it could either be an independent administrator or a summary administrator.
Okay. And generally, what's the difference?
The difference is the value of the profit that would be made. If it's less than $300,000, then it'd be a summary administrator. If it's more, then it'd be independent administrator.
So if you have a home that's under $300,000, how much oversight is there compared to a home that's worth more than $300K?
There's a lot less oversight if it's less than.
And so essentially, Mr. Tellis is reporting to you that he believed that the Compass was stepping in on these homes where the bills are piling up, and they are essentially selling them, not notifying next of kin, and making a profit by selling it to other employees of the company.
Yes.
In general. Okay. Okay. So you take it serious. Do you take steps to see if you can corroborate stuff that the defendant is telling you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you examine county recorder sites?
Yes.
Do you examine the courts, like the 8th Judicial Court website, to see what is being filed in open court?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you examine to see when, let's say, Compass Realty were to take over a home, whether or not they'd hold on to the house or flip it really quick? Did you look into that?
Yes. Not only the immediate purchaser of the house, but we even went, and if the house is sold multiple times after that, we looked into the people that purchased the house if it was sold 2 to 3 times in succession.
Did you take steps to subpoena bank records?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So you're doing that. I want to talk about the notification part too. Did you have a chance to study the Nevada statutes that govern notifying next of kin when these situations pop up?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know something? Have you ever heard of something called certified mail?
Yes.
Could you tell this jury what certified mail is?
Certified mail is if you're going to send a letter to someone, it has a form on the front of it. Once the letter gets delivered, whoever accepts the letter signs for it saying that they received this letter, and then that gets, in most cases, sent back to the person who sent the letter to let them know that it has been received.
Okay. When you examine the statutes regarding this process, some company or person coming in to be an independent administrator, was there a requirement in the statutes to have something like certified mail?
No, there's not.
Okay. So in a certified mail situation, whoever gets the notification would have in theory had to sign it, and then you'd have proof like, hey, I have their signature, they were notified, right?
Correct.
But the laws on the books didn't require that in this scenario.
Correct.
Okay. So when you started looking into whether or not people were notified, what were kind of the results?
There are mixed results.
Meaning what?
Some people stated that they were notified, and then others said they had no idea about it.
And just to be clear, we're specifically talking about people who had Compass Realty take over as an independent administrator or summary administrator.
Correct. So through our research, in the documents that were filed with the court through Compass Realty, it would oftentimes state who the next of kin was that they attempted to notify or that they found through their own research. Those are the people that we contacted. And if there weren't next of kins listed, we would try to find our own, through our own research, we'd find next of kins. And those are the people that we contacted. And that's, some of those people said they were notified, others said they were not.
All right. I now want to turn your attention to May of 2022. That's about 2 months after you start investigating Compass Realty and speaking with Mr. Tellis. At that time, do you become aware of a series of articles written by Jeff Garriman about Robert Tellis?
Yes, I do.
And in general, it's kind of alleging there's like bullying in the office and an accusation of affair, things like that, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
During that time, did you have interactions with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Based on what you saw or what you heard from the defendant, how did he feel about those articles that Garriman wrote about him?
He was upset about them.
Okay. What did he say about Jeff Garriman?
I have to object here. It's just a foundation. We get a time, place.
Sure. Okay. Did you have conversations in May of 2022 with Mr. Tellis?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall speaking with him about the defendant's opinion of Jeff Gehrman and why he wrote those articles?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember where you were?
I don't recall where I was at.
Do you remember if it was over the phone or in person?
It had been either over the phone, either through a voice conversation or text messages.
Okay. In general, what did the defendant say about why Mr. Gehrman was doing this?
He said that he just wanted to sell papers and that he didn't want the full story or to share the full story.
Okay. Did the defendant ever tell you about something that he believed would shed light on what was really happening in the public administration's office?
Yes, he did.
What did he tell you that you should look at, or what did he refer you to?
He referred me to a website where he shared his side of the story.
And at this time, is there an election going on?
Yes.
Okay. So he's running for election and these things are coming out.
Correct.
Did he seem concerned about the election? If you know, I don't know if you know, but based on your reaction, did he seem concerned?
Our conversations weren't along those lines. So.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to May 16th. On that date, does the defendant also approach you about another issue he is concerned about?
Yes.
Okay. What does he approach you about?
This is a phone conversation after the article was written. Roberta Lee Kinnett was receiving a bunch of text messages that he believed were harassing in nature, and he asked if that would be something that I'd be willing to investigate.
Did you in fact investigate that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What did you do with that information?
A few days later, Mr. Tellis sent me screenshots of the text messages that were received. I forwarded those text messages to the district attorney's office and had them review them to see if it fit any harassment or annoying, threatening phone call types crime.
Okay. And what was the result after you reached out to the DA's office?
That it did not rise to the level of any criminal action.
Did you let Mr. Tellis know about the results of after speaking with the members of the DA's office?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did he indicate that he understood?
Yes.
At this point, is the investigation into Compass still going on?
Yes, it is.
All right. Now, I will now turn to June of 2022. At this point, do you become aware of the defendant losing his primary election?
Yes.
So essentially, in 6 months, he would not be the public administrator anymore.
Correct.
All right. Are you having some amount of contact with the defendant?
Yes, I am.
Is it as frequent as it was before?
Our contact was periodic, so I would say yes, it was similar.
Okay. So now I want to turn to August of 2022. After the primary loss, are you still investigating Compass Realty?
Yes, I am.
All right. At that point in time, are you put in contact with other members of the Public Administration Office?
Yes, I am.
Who are those people that you were put in contact with?
I was put in contact with Rita Reed and Alicia Goodwin.
Did you know at the time, as of August, Rita Reed was the very person who beat Mr. Tellis in the election?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So you knew that they were employees and you knew that Rita had run against them?
Yes.
All right. So what do they allege to you?
In our initial meeting with them, they alleged that they received information that Mr. Tellis was receiving kickbacks.
Okay. A week after meeting them, do you speak with another individual in the real estate world?
Yes, it's around a week. I don't have the exact days.
Okay. What's her name?
Her name is Kimberly McMahon.
Okay. Was she a former Metro police officer?
I believe she was a lieutenant, yes.
Okay. Was she currently an employee of Metro at the time that you met with her?
No, she was not.
Okay. How long had she been retired for?
I believe she retired in 2021, so it had been about a year since she was a police officer.
Okay. Does she also share information about this alleged kickback scheme?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the allegation? So how does the kickback work in this scenario? Because he's the PA, so it's got to be a little different than the Compass thing. So what's the difference?
Yeah, so the information I received is that through the public administrator's office, when they take possession of a home and that home is ready to be sold, they have the ability to pick whatever realtor they want to sell that house. The allegation was that historically the public administrator's office would use multiple realtors and it would kind of be like on a rotating basis of how the houses were sold. The information I received is that Mr. Tellis approached Ms. McMahon while they were selling one specific house and asked to receive 30% of the commission that she received. When a realtor sells a house, through our research, the buyer agent and the seller agent usually receive between 3 to 3.5% of the total sale of the house. So the total value from this realtor would be 7%, and Mr. Tellis stated that he would continue giving them houses to sell if he got 30% of that 7% of the commission.
All right, so now detective, so we got one guy saying this company's doing this, and now you have other people accusing the very guy who came to you of doing something inappropriate. Detective, as a police officer, do you just pick and choose at this point which one you want to do?
No.
Please tell us, how do you handle a situation like this?
We investigate both simultaneously. Even if a person that's providing us information, if we get information later on that that person is also committing criminal acts, it doesn't change. It doesn't change our focus. It doesn't change the ability to still investigate both criminal activities at the same time.
So you have to follow the evidence?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point, in August of 2022, do you then start to investigate the allegations raised against Robert Tellis?
Yes.
At the same time, in August of 2022, are you investigating the allegations against Compass Realty?
Yes, I am.
So what sort of steps do you take to see if what Rita Reed or Alicia Goodwin are saying, to see if it makes any sense? What sort of things did you start looking at?
Similar to the investigation from the information received from Mr. Tellis, we did a similar thing. So we had names of multiple realtors that the public administrator's office had been using, specifically since Mr. Tellis took that position as a public administrator. We looked into the houses that they have sold since, like I said, he took office. And we were able to see a pattern of multiple realtors being used. And then from the time that Ms. McMahon said that the house was taken away from her, it seemed like the houses went specifically to one realtor. That realtor, based on our research, didn't sell many houses before he met Mr. Tellis. And then after he met Mr. Tellis, the amount of homes that he sold specifically for the public administrator's office substantially increased.
Okay. So do you take steps like, I don't know, collecting people's phones and things like that?
Yes.
Okay. You do records requests and things of that nature?
Correct.
Do you subpoena bank records as well?
Yes.
And additionally, do you apply for and acquire what's called a pen register?
Yes, I do.
What is a pen register?
A pen register is a search warrant that we do to collect phone data information, such as location information and incoming and outgoing contact with that phone, either text messages or voice calls.
And so when you say location information, are you talking about when a phone kind of interacts with a cell site?
Yes.
And sometimes are those referred to as historical phone records?
Correct.
Because we're trying to see where a phone is geographically when it's interacting with a tower.
Yes.
Okay. So you get information like that. Additionally, do you institute surveillance on Mr. Tellis?
Yes, I do.
All right. And was the pen register in effect in early September?
Yes, it was.
Were you surveilling in early September?
Yes.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to September 2nd. Do you become aware that Jeff Garriman is murdered on that day?
Yes, I was.
Detective, was surveillance instituted on the defendant on September 2nd, 2022?
No, it was not.
Do you remember why?
Surveillance was conducted on Mr. Tellis the day prior, so September 1st, 2022.
So why stop? What's the deal with that?
Typically in our line of work, we don't want to do surveillance on a subject multiple days in a row. We typically have the same cars, and if someone starts noticing a same car or same person behind them multiple days in a row, they can get suspicious. So we like to space out our surveillances so that people can't notice cars.
Okay. So the day before, and this was the day off?
Correct.
All right. Now, I have another question to ask for you. It's a bit of a burning question. Detective Jappy, did you go to 7216 Bronze Circle on the day Jeff Garriman was murdered?
No, I did not.
All right. Now, later, I don't know if it's that evening or the very next day, do you attend a briefing with Metro regarding the Garriman murder?
Yes, I believe it was that evening at our headquarters.
Okay. Fair to say, given he was a reporter, this was kind of a big deal. It had some notoriety, at least certainly media notoriety.
Correct.
Okay. Did you provide those historical phone records from the pen register to the lead detective in this case, Detective Gaddis?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you mention that you were aware of these articles that came up as well?
Yes.
Okay. At that point, who, as far as you know, who is handling the investigation of the Gehrman murder?
Detective Gaddis.
Okay. Are you an integral role? Are they saying, like, ride shotgun with me on this? Is that what's happening?
No.
Okay. So homicide's handling.
Correct.
So then I have another question for you. As of September 2nd, Jeff Gehrman dies. Do you, for some reason, stop doing your Compass investigation or your Telus investigation?
No, both those investigations still continue.
All right. So now I want to turn your attention to September 7th of 2022. On that day, are you contacted by Detective Justine Gaddis?
Yes, I am.
Does she ask you to meet her somewhere?
Yes.
And where are you supposed to meet her at?
She called me and asked me if I could meet her at the Summerlin Area Command.
And why did you have to go over there?
Mr. Tellis was present there, and she asked if I could come assist her in the interview.
Okay. At that time, though, is a buccal swab taken from Mr. Tellis pursuant to a search warrant?
That was prior to my arrival.
Okay, so you're not there. Are you aware, though, a buccal's being taken on that day?
Yes.
All right. Are you also aware of a warrant being acquired to perform a search at his residence?
Yes, I am.
Because this is all happening on the 7th, right?
Correct.
Detective Jappy, did you participate in the search warrant at the defendant's home on September 7th, 2022?
No, I did not.
Who drops off the defendant at his house on the 7th?
It was Detective Gaddis and I.
After you drop him off, do you become aware that the DNA results have come back?
Yes.
Do you learn that there's a plan in place at that point to place the defendant under arrest?
Yes, I do.
Do you go home at that point in time, or where do you go at that point?
I was in the vicinity of Mr. Tellis' residence.
Okay. And are you tasked with anything on that day?
Yes.
What are you tasked to do?
I was asked to call Mr. Tellis and ask him if he could come outside of his house and surrender to us.
Do you have an understanding as to why you were selected?
Yes.
Why?
One, based on my rapport with Mr. Tellis, we had I would say a long-standing relationship for 6 months. We talked somewhat frequently, and also I'm a member of our crisis negotiation team.
What is the crisis negotiation team?
We are individuals within Metro that have specialized training in crisis negotiation. So if someone is in a mental state where they are refusing to come out of the residence, either barricaded inside the residence or have hostages or want to harm themselves, we have specialized training, and we respond to talk to those individuals to try to get them to get into a mental state where they're ready to start thinking rationally again and exit whatever place they're in.
And potentially de-escalate a potentially harmful situation?
Yes.
Okay. Do you call the defendant?
I call his wife's phone.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, how many years have you been a member of the crisis negotiation team?
Approximately 6 years. I started in 2016, but I had a 2-year break in between.
So you call his wife's phone. Do you eventually get the defendant on the phone?
Yes, I do.
How long do you spend talking with Mr. Tellis?
In total is about 2 hours.
Okay. Does he say anything to you that expresses, that gives you a concern about his personal safety?
Yes.
Okay. What does he say that brings you that concern?
There's multiple statements that he wasn't thinking clearly, and that he was thinking about hurting himself. And then it progressed to where he was telling me that he could not exit the residence because he was stuck in his tub. And at that point, we, members of the SWAT team, utilized robots and drones to see that he was, in fact, laying in his tub and unable to exit.
I want to ask you this question. During that 2-hour negotiation, do you ever step foot inside Mr. Tellis' residence?
No, I do not.
Okay, so are you at some sort of command post or somewhere farther away?
I started off in my vehicle, and then once the SWAT team arrived, we have a room that the negotiators go and sit in. So for probably the first hour and a half, I was in my vehicle, and then I transitioned into the command vehicle for the SWAT team.
Okay, and then at that point, you mentioned that drones or robots confirm. Is that because they're like armed with cameras?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you get a visual essentially.
Yes.
All right. Ultimately, does SWAT go in and safely get him out of the house?
Yes, they do.
After SWAT gets him out of the house, is he provided medical treatment and brought to an ambulance?
Yes.
Is that ambulance, obviously the ambulance is outside of the house, do you approach that ambulance?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Why do you approach the ambulance?
As part of what we typically do as negotiators, we go to debrief the person that was barricaded within the house, and we have conversations with them to see if there's anything that we could do that could have been different to get them to exit the house earlier, or different things that we could have said to have rationale with the subject. On top of that, with my relationship with Mr. Tellis, just to see if he was okay.
Okay, I'll ask you, Detective, were you concerned about him?
Yes.
Okay, why?
Like I said, I had a relationship with him. Obviously, through the conversation that we had, we know about his family, everything that he's going through. You never want to see someone in a situation where they feel like they have to hurt themselves. Like it doesn't matter what the nature of the allegations are or anything like that. And so all those things were factors that, I was concerned about his safety.
Okay. How long, I don't want to get into the substance of it, but like how long do you spend interacting with him?
In the ambulance, I was probably in there for about 5 minutes.
Okay. Do you stay in the ambulance as he's taken to a hospital?
No, I do not.
Okay, so he is then taken away at that point?
Yes.
After he leaves to go to the ambulance, Detective Jappy, did you set foot inside Mr. Tellis' residence?
No, I did not.
Okay, so September 7th, Robert Tellis is arrested. At this point, do you stop your investigation into Compass and Mr. Tellis?
No, both investigations still continue.
Okay. Let's first talk about the Tellis investigation. When do you conclude your investigation into the allegations raised by Rita Reed and Alicia Goodwin and Ms. McMahon?
My investigation ended around February of 2023. We passed the information that we had and all the information that we collected to the FBI to do a secondary analysis of it.
Let me stop. I want to stop you here for a second. You conclude in February of 2023?
Yes.
Okay. Before you send it to the FBI, what determination, Detective, do you make regarding the allegations that Robert Tellis did something involving a kickback scheme?
Through all the investigation that we did and all the research that we conducted, there is no evidence to support that Mr. Tellis was receiving any kickbacks.
Okay. Do you then refer to the FBI?
Yes.
And what does the FBI say?
They review the documentation as well, and they came to the same conclusion.
Okay. Do you take this evidence to the DA's office in the hopes that they file charges against Mr. Tellis?
No, I did not.
So you don't do that in that case?
Correct.
With respect to what the old guard has said about Mr. Tellis. Is that correct? Do you even know who the old guard is?
I do not.
Okay. Sorry, I'll use it about regarding what Ms. Rita Reed or Alicia Goodwin or Ms. McMahon, what they say about him. You don't take all that to the DA's office?
Correct.
Regarding Mr. Tellis?
Correct.
Let's turn our attention to Compass Realty. When did your investigation conclude on that?
Around February of 2023.
Okay. Do you take that information, what conclusion, let's do it this way. Do you take that evidence to the DA's office?
Yes, I do.
In the hopes that they file charges?
When I took the evidence to the district attorney's office, it was in support of trying to get search warrants to further the investigation.
And what are you told, essentially, by members of the district attorney's office?
That based on the information that we had and how the Nevada revised statute is written regarding probate cells, that through the legislative loopholes that Compass Realty was utilizing loopholes and that there would not be a criminal prosecution of the case.
So specifically we're talking about things like the requirements of service, right? Like you don't have certified mail, and you're getting a mixed bag, so it's going to be hard to say that they weren't really notifying people.
Yes, that's correct.
And so, because you had some people who in fact were notified and some people didn't.
Yes, and then in regards to filing the false documents to the court, oftentimes the employee of Compass Realty did provide who the home was sold to and the company that it was sold to, and there was no further questions from the court about it, but they did provide the documentation.
So at the end of the day, regarding the Telus accusations, you do not go to the DA's office, but Compass Realty you did.
Correct.
But based on the way the law was written, you were told this can't go any further just because of just how these statutes are written.
Yes, that's correct.
I want to talk about one more thing, that pen register. Did you have an opportunity to review the pen register with respect to Mr. Telus?
Yes.
Okay. And on that day, and you have records, you've collected those records. On that day, in the morning of September 2nd of 2022, what do you see in terms of the activity on that phone?
The activity between, I don't have the exact times, but between like 8:30 in the morning, around 8:30 in the morning to early afternoon, the phone activity was only incoming activity as far as text messages and phone calls, and there was no outgoing text messages or phone calls until early afternoon.
Okay, so basically, like, there's activity on the phone, and geographically, where's the phone pinging from?
Around his residence.
Okay, so the phone appears to be located nearby the residence.
Correct.
And people are kind of reaching out to his phone, but nothing's going out.
That's correct.
For about how long of a time period?
I would say approximately 5 to 6 hours.
Okay, and you've provided those records to our office, is that correct?
Yes.
At this time, we're going to ask for the admission of states 345. It's been admitted by stipulation.
Correct.
It's admitted.
Yes, Your Honor.
If we could just cue over. So, that's super weird. It's because I have to slide it over here. I apologize. Let's do this with this. Voila. It's magic. Okay, this is gonna, I'll have to look over here. Sorry, this is a little harder for me to do. Okay, what are we looking at in this first column here? Do you know?
The first column is just the case number that our technical and analytical section assigned to it.
And what is this second column indicating?
The second column is the target phone number, so the phone number that the PIN register is provisioned on.
And for the record, I opened up a file that was entitled 702-533-1858 CDRs.
Correct.
Okay. What's in column D?
The date of the activity.
Okay. So tell me this. So what time did you say roughly this starts at?
I said approximately 8:30. It looks like it's 8:45 hours, so 8:45 in the morning was that last. I'm sorry, 08:48 in the morning was the last outgoing text messages.
Okay, so that's entry. I'm sorry, it's just really hard for me to see. I apologize.
No.
So eight at entry number. What is that entry number with the outgoing text?
The only thing I can see is it ends in 56.
Oh, it's cut off on your screen. So is it 45556, and it's a text in column H outgoing, correct?
Yes.
And it's sent to 6728556. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, that's outgoing. The next couple entries below, the next two are incoming, correct?
Yes.
What is the significance, though, of outgoing data? What does that mean?
So through my training experience, data sessions aren't reflected with the accurate times on through phone records. We're taught not to rely on data sessions.
Okay, so that potentially is just a ping from the cell phone company sending things out.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure like what counts as data sessions, but
on a record, let's say you send a text message in column 8, it'll say text, right?
yes.
Okay. So let's keep scrolling down. So if we look at entry number 45568 at 9:16:01, there seems to be an incoming text, correct?
Yes.
And again, there's outgoing data, and then another incoming text. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so essentially you're seeing a series of incoming texts, but there's like no response. There's no outgoing text, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we're at, if we look at entry 45582, the very one at the bottom, can you read me the time at that point?
Yes, that's 9:44:53.
All right, let's keep scrolling down. So, again, are we seeing kind of a toggling of incoming text message and then these outgoing data kind of notations, correct?
Yes.
Please tell me what the last time on this entry here is.
10:16:31.
And I know it's cut off, and that's entry number 45597 for the record. Wrong mouse. Let's, I don't know if we're, all right. Now we have something called incoming voice. What is that?
That's his phone is receiving a phone call.
Okay. So you're seeing a couple of calls that are being made, correct?
Yes.
But nothing outgoing in terms of voice or text.
Correct.
What is the last time that you have here?
The last time I have is 11:59:09.
And for the record, since it's cut off, it's 45:6:12. Looking at here, again, we're not seeing anything outgoing in terms of voice or text, correct?
Correct.
But there is an incoming voice at the end, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What is the time on that?
13:20:28.
So I'm assuming that's a 24-hour clock?
Yes.
Okay, so convert that for people who don't know what
Yes.
a 24-hour clock is.
That'd be 1:20 p.m. and 28 seconds.
Okay, so another incoming, at 1:20 incoming voice call, and for the record, that entry is 45:6:30. Let's see. Again, are we only seeing incoming text at this point?
Yes, I believe so.
All right. No outgoing text, no outgoing voices.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Please tell us the time here at the bottom.
13:26:35. So 1:26 and 35 seconds p.m.
Okay. And for the record, that's entry point 45651. Now I want to turn your attention to the third entry from the bottom. The entry is 45658 at 14:05:49. What do we have there?
We have an outgoing text message to 702-325-2821. So that means he sent a text, or his phone sent a text message to that number.
Please convert for this jury what 14:05 translates into in a normal 12-hour clock.
Yeah, it's 2:05 and 49 seconds p.m.
Okay, so from 8:48 a.m. until 2:05 p.m., there's not a single outgoing voice call or a single outgoing text message.
Correct.
Correct? Thank you. I have no further questions.
Cross-examination. Oh, we probably need to take a break. Okay, we're going to take a recess. During this recess, you're admonished not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication or social media. Read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary. Do any research, consult dictionaries, the internet, or reference materials. Do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own or form, or express any opinion regarding the case until it's finally submitted to you. We'll be in recess for 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you all. Round for acting jury, please. Jurors.
Evening, come to order. Court is now back in session.
Does the state stipulate to the presence of the panel?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the defense?
All right, we got just one moment.
You bet.
Talk outside first. Just a moment. Just so we can
Sure,
take a
no
look.
problem.
Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, cross-examination.
Yes, thank you. Detective Jappy, just so we're clear, based upon your direct testimony today, Mr. Tellis has basically been exonerated of the allegation or the concern of your investigation regarding his receiving bribes or kickbacks.
Yes, that's correct.
This investigation was basically started by Kimberly McMahon meeting with you and giving you information, fair to say?
That was part of it, yes.
As a result of her coming to you, you sought a pen register, trap and trace real-time device location wherein you could follow Mr. Tellis's phone.
Again, in part because of the information received by her.
Correct. Long story short, the warrant that you obtained was, to make reference to Kimberly McMahon, correct?
Yes.
That provided the probable cause for you to get this trap and trace device, correct?
It helped the probable cause.
It was the primary reason. We'll go there. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
As a result of this, you were able to monitor his whereabouts. Maybe not to the specific inch, but pretty darn close.
That's correct.
You were able to monitor calls received, sent out, the metadata, not the contents, but the numbers.
Correct, the phone number's out, yes.
As well as the data information, the text that he both received and sent out, fair to say?
Yes, the phone number's out, either sent or received it, yes.
Correct. You would testify concerning surveillance that had been conducted on Mr. Tellis, correct?
Yes.
There is a report that was generated on August 17th of 2022.
Correct.
Criminal intelligence surveillance log was generated as a result of the surveillance that was conducted.
Yes.
Notes are taken concerning the activities of Mr. Tellis.
Yes, that'd be correct.
Picks up a child, goes to Home Depot, fair to say?
Yes.
Goes to Chipotle.
Yes.
Goes home. And he was under surveillance for a number of hours on August 17th, 2022.
Correct.
Now, there's a second report that's generated, and that's a September 6th, 2022. And this is of Mr. Tellis.
Yes.
References made where security cameras are observed under the eave of the roof.
Correct.
And there's a notice or a notation here concerning those not having been there previously.
Yes.
Now, there's reference made to, and actually you testified now, concerning surveillance conducted of Mr. Tellis on September 1st, 2022.
Yes.
Was a report generated or a surveillance log generated in reference to that surveillance?
Yes, there was.
Was that provided to the district attorney's office?
Yes.
You are subject to recall, and the parties have agreed that in the event that it's necessary to call you back, which you're willing to come back and speak to us, correct?
Yes, I am.
Right. And it's your testimony that as a result of the surveillance of Mr. Tellis on September 1st, 2022, that he was not surveilled on September 2nd of 2022. You generally don't like to have 2 surveillance days back to back.
Correct.
Fair to say that he was subject to surveillance from the time that you obtained this warrant and began looking at him on August 17th until past the time that the events which gave rise to this case occurred.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You bet. He's under surveillance. First time is August 17th. He's then surveilled September 1st of 2022.
Correct.
And then he's surveilled September 6th, 2022. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And the events that gave rise to this case are alleged to have occurred on September 2nd, 2022.
Yes.
So during this time, he was subject to surveillance, but just not on this specific day, according to your testimony.
Yes, that's correct.
From the time that you obtained this warrant in August, he was subject again to this pen register trap and trace.
Yes.
And that obviously covered the events as we've seen of September 2nd, 2022.
Yes, it did.
At no time during this course of events, to your knowledge, was he made aware of these things?
Correct.
Or these efforts on your part, fair to say?
Yes, very fair.
In reference to the person that came forward to you and gave you information, which was the primary basis for your warrant, Kimberly McMahon, she was a real estate agent.
Yes.
But at the time that these solicitations that she claimed occurred between herself and Mr. Tellis, she was actually a lieutenant of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
Around the same time. I don't know the exact dates, but yes, around the same time.
Okay. And if I were to tell you that it's my understanding that she was, would you have any reason to disagree with me?
No.
Okay. You had testified that while Mr. Tellis has been exonerated, and let me ask you this, your investigation concerning Mr. Tellis and these allegations against Mr. Tellis concerning this kickback scheme, he was never notified, correct?
Correct.
So, up until your testimony today, he did not receive a phone call, he hasn't received a letter, anything of that nature to inform him that your investigation was complete and that you found no wrongdoing concerning the allegations that you were involved in.
I did not interview him, reference it, and it's not typical to let people know that they're subject of an investigation.
Fair enough. Would you agree with me that based upon this investigation that he conducted, an independent investigation, and provide you documentation concerning, you began and continued investigation for several months concerning Compass Realty and other actors?
Yes, I did.
And you ultimately submitted the evidence that you confirmed and built upon that was received from him. You submitted that to the district attorney's office.
It was a conversation with the district attorney's office. There was no formal submission or anything along those lines.
And you were informed that while obviously it was a statutory issue, but the district attorney's office did not file charges, but then you had given testimony that this information has been submitted to the FBI.
In regards to Mr. Tellis, yes.
Okay. In regards to even concerning an investigation of Mr. Tellis, or just so we're clear, please?
Yes, concerning the investigation that we were doing into Mr. Tellis for the kickbacks, that information was turned over to the FBI. The information referenced Compass Realty was not.
Okay. Fair to say that if Mr. Tellis had not come forth to you, that you wouldn't have learned, you weren't notified prior to his notifying you of these actions of Compass Realty and others?
Correct.
So he reached out to you, correct?
Yes.
And when I say you, I'm saying if I told you that he first reached out to the district attorney, Mr. Wolfson, and then ultimately it came to your desk, would you have any reason to disagree with that?
No, that's a fair assessment.
You reached out to Detective Gaddis on September 4th of 2022, correct?
Detective Gaddis and I had a conversation before, since the murder occurred, up until his arrest. So
You had reached out, and if I told you it's contained within an officer's report authored by Detective Gaddis, do you have a reason to disagree with me?
No, I wouldn't.
So you'd agree with me, you reached out to Detective Gaddis to inform Detective Gaddis that you had information that you felt would implicate Mr. Tellis in a murder?
I don't recall any information that would implicate him. I passed along facts that I had through my investigation.
To where you thought that he should be a target or he should be looked at?
Again, I was just informing Detective Gaddis of information that I had. She was a case agent. However, she receives that information as her decision.
And like I said, I don't want to mince words with you, but you basically reached out to Detective Gaddis to say, hey, I think I have some information. You should look at Mr. Tellis.
She should be aware of the information I had, yes.
Okay. Mr. Tellis is detained for the purposes of collecting his DNA and ultimately his pants on September 7th. You're aware of that?
Yes.
He's subsequently spoken to by homicide detectives, correct?
Yes.
You then became involved or entered into that interview, that discussion.
I was present at the beginning of the conversation with him.
Okay. And there was a discussion that you had with him concerning an investigation or other matters concerning you and him, correct?
Yes, we had conversation. I was giving him updates on where we're at with Compass Realty as the homicide investigation was continuing.
So he's being detained, having his DNA taken, literally having his pants taken off of him, and you are speaking to him concerning Compass and Compass Realty.
When I spoke to him, that process had already been completed, and we were just in the room, more like small talk type conversation.
Okay, but you were there, correct?
Yes.
He's obviously aware that he's the subject of a murder investigation. Things are going, as you testified, fairly badly for him in a psychological, mental sense. You're now part of the crisis negotiation team that's speaking to him, correct?
Yes.
And then following his emergence from his residence, you then are in the ambulance with Mr. Tellis, correct?
Yes, I was.
And it was just you and he in the ambulance?
No, there was multiple people inside the ambulance.
Okay, who was in the ambulance?
My partner with the negotiation team was with me, and then numerous firefighters and paramedics.
I see. And since that time, you've not had any contact with Mr. Tellis?
No.
Thank you. And again, subject to recall, I'll pass the witness. Thank you.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down. You're not excused from your subpoena. So if Mr. Draskowitz wants to recall you, we'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being here today. You may step down and you are excused.
Thank you.
And the state may call their next witness.
State called Officer Levi Hancock.
You'll please remain standing. Raise your right hand, please. Swear.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Levi Hancock. First name is spelled Levi. Last name is Hancock.
I proceed, Your Honor. Thank you. Sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm employed with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department
And what division are you currently in with Metro?
in the SWAT section.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to September 7th of 2022. Were you and your SWAT team members kind of sent out to help assist in potentially effectuating an arrest on a defendant by the name, or a suspect by the name of Robert Tellis?
Yes, we were.
Do you see Robert Tellis here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Okay, could you please point out where he is and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's wearing a gray suit on the far right side of that table.
All right, let the record reflect the witnesses identify the defendant. Okay. Now, prior to going out to effectuate that arrest, were you aware that there was a search warrant being executed on that home earlier in the day?
Yes.
Okay. So once you guys are sent out, what is the plan at that point? What's the plan to do this?
So we had been notified of the previous search warrant. We were also told that there was an incoming search warrant to take Mr. Tellis into custody. That was pending some DNA results.
Okay.
It was our understanding that surveillance was being done on the house at that point in time, at which point they made contact with him, and then they deemed it a barricaded person,
Okay.
and that's when we were requested.
And around that time, DNA results come back in. Are you made aware of that?
Yes.
And there's a decision that an effectuating arrest is going to happen?
Correct.
How many SWAT officers respond to this barricade?
I would say probably around 20 or so, at least.
All right. Where were you, let me ask you this. When, let's say you're dealing with a residence, are sides of the home given a number?
Yes, they are.
What is that? How does that work in your?
So if you're facing a residence, to the left of it would be the 2 side, the rear was what we call the 3 side, and then to the right of it would be the 4 side.
And the front would be?
The 1 side.
All right. So were you assigned a particular side of the house?
Yes, it was red team was actually the primary team that day, and I work on blue team. They put a request out for additional personnel, and I was assigned to work on the 3 side of the building.
So that's the back part.
That's the back, correct.
And I don't want to assume, but it sounds as if maybe there are officers maybe on all sides of the house. Would that be fair?
Yes, it's completely surrounded.
Okay. So are there efforts, as far as you know, to communicate with Mr. Tellis to see if he would come out on his own?
Yes, prior to our arrival was our understanding, at least the communication that had been put out, was that they were on the phone with him and he had made the refusal to come out of the residence.
Do you know roughly how long people talked with Mr. Tellis?
It was well more than an hour,
okay,
if not closer to 2.
All right. Ultimately, are you able, does the SWAT team enter the home?
Yes, prior to our arrival, the units that were conducting surveillance made the determination that they needed to enter the residence under exigent circumstances because they were in fear that he was harming himself. They made entry into the home, cleared the first level of the home. That's the point when SWAT assets started to arrive and took over inside the home.
And based on what you learned, where did you believe Mr. Tellis was located in the house? You said you secured the first floor. Where did you believe he was located?
So it was relayed to us. We also put out snipers, so they provide intelligence and overwatch for us. They had seen some movement on the second floor of the 1 side. If you're facing the home, the very first window, it appeared to be some block windows, but they could see some movement, some hand movement, gestures coming from that bathroom.
Okay. Is there a decision made to make your way up the stairs to the second floor?
Yes. Prior to that, we used robotics and a drone.
Why are those helpful?
Well, we don't want to rush into any type of situation and put ourselves in a position where, unfortunately, we encounter a lot of individuals that try and go suicide by cop. So we want to identify somebody, try and isolate them, establish communication with them, and have a peaceful resolution.
Okay. So do the robots and the drones establish visual on the defendant?
Yes. The robot came in first, ascended the stairs, and actually proceeded into the master bedroom, which is on the 1 side of the second floor.
Okay, so the front side of the house.
The front side of the house, yes.
I'm learning. Okay, so the robot gets visual. How about the drone? Does it establish visual as well?
Yeah, the robot actually made its way into the master bedroom. There was quite a bit of clutter in the bedroom, so it couldn't really proceed much further. Soon after that, the drone came in, flew into that bedroom, and identified Mr. Tellis in the bathtub.
Okay, so he's in the bathtub according
Yes.
to the visuals that you got?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens next?
It was relayed to us as the drone flew in. And again, the robots have the ability to establish communications with the person. They relayed to us over the radio that Mr. Tellis had appeared to drop a knife outside of the bathtub, meaning that he was potentially unarmed at that point. They identified that he was covered in blood and potentially had some self-inflicted wounds on him.
Okay. Do you and your team make your way up the stairs to the bathroom?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. When you reach the bathroom, what do you see and what do you do at that point?
I was the first person in the bathroom operating the shield. We established verbal communication with him, told him, "Let me see your hands." He made some gesture like he said, you know, if he did have a weapon, I believe I said, drop the knife or drop whatever you may have. He made some gesture that it was outside of the bathtub. I could definitively clear his hands at that point, which we proceeded forward to remove him from the bathtub.
Okay. Are you successful in removing him from the bathtub?
Yes.
Once removed from the bathtub, do you provide any sort of immediate assistance medically to Mr. Tellis?
Yes, we extracted him from the bathtub and pulled him out into the main floor space of the master bedroom so we could at least start to render some medical aid. We're fortunate enough to have what's called a tactical emergency medical team with us. So we have commissioned officers that are EMTs, and then we have physicians that volunteer their time. So we had a physician on site along with 2 EMTs that came in along with myself to provide medical aid to Mr. Tellis.
So essentially the 3 of you provide medical aid, is that correct?
Yes, 4 of us.
4 of you.
Yes.
What about the rest of those SWAT members? Do they stick around, or are they kind of sent downstairs? What happened?
No, they were sent to just to make sure the rest of the residence was clear and then just get out of the way.
Okay. After providing medical assistance on the 2nd floor, where do you take Mr. Tellis?
We wrapped him in a sheet so we could ascend him down the stairs, and then he was placed on a gurney, at which point he was taken out to medical.
At the time that you performed all of these actions, were you wearing anything to record things that you had seen or experienced while inside the house?
Yes, we're assigned a body-worn camera, which is worn on my helmet.
Prior to coming here today, have you had a chance to review that body-worn footage?
Yes.
All right. At this time, we are going to play Officer Hancock's body-worn camera. It is found within Exhibit States 344. It's been admitted already in there. Yeah, thank you. Hold on. Okay. I'm just going to stop it right here. Do you recognize what we're looking at here?
Yes, that's the stairs lead up to the 2nd floor of Mr. Tellis' home.
Okay, thank you very much.
Copy that. We're making our way up to 88 to the master bedroom. The plan's already been put out. Keep eyes moving, keep eyes on. Copy that. We're ready to go. Taser ready. Taser rush behind me. Yeah, I told him I pulled back over here. Levi, smash it if you need to do. Keep your hand. Keep your hand. Good. Stand up. You got any weapons? On the floor. Come on the ground. Here. Right here. Slide. Wait. There you go. Just one. Yep, I got it. Hey, just pull them out when we can. When you can, leave line. No rush. He's got a lot of wounds. Yeah, give me a hole. Make me a hole. You're gonna need Hey. That's you. What's up? That's it. Pull them out. Pull out. Keep going out. Keep going. Hey, we don't have a lot of room on this land. It's right here's good. Right here's good. Put it down. Yeah, you got a lot of stations on it. Listen, hey, you want to take him out? You want to take him out? Hey, check his other response. Sit down. SWAT guys. One guy. Levi's medical. One guy. Everybody else start backfilling and clearing. Yes, sir. Levi stays with medical. Everyone else start backfilling and clearing the rest. Oh, yeah. There's a room over here as well. He's got those marks. Hey, push back. A lot of significant blood loss in the bathtub. You want to get him outside? Just get dressed. Let's just make sure there's nothing material. We need to stop right away. You want me off?
The rest of the team is cleared up now.
Hey, you're doing that, sir. Yeah. Down, we're cutting off the arms are no big deal. They're superficial. They can get dressed and make sure no junctional.
Tax medics are working as well as a tax doc.
Does that room drive around at the work?
They're clear to go, yes.
Take it all the way down. Take it all the way down. It's all superficial.
For tax medics, but it's also superficial to the arms.
Rolling for back.
You're going to get Buck Yancey's going to be your tax doc.
Okay. Let's roll and check his back for any blood source there. Otherwise, I'll show blood from his arms. Which way? Away from us?
Hey, I won't control those arms shit, okay?
We're just going to stop at 312. I think I'm reading that right, 312. Essentially, the rest of the footage kind of shows you guys administering that emergency aid at the top of the stairs. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Okay. At this time, I have no further questions for the witness.
Cross-examination?
Just briefly, based on your recollection in the images captured here, it appears that Mr. Tellis had lost a substantial amount of blood.
Correct.
Did you have any indication at this time whether he had ingested drugs or alcohol?
I didn't. The attending physician, John Anson, they made the determination that he possibly ingested something. I believe they gave him 2 doses of Narcan.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
No, you're right.
Thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down. You are excused from your subpoena. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Okay, at this time, we're going to conclude for the day. We will resume again Monday morning at 10:30. During this recess, you're admonished not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or the means of communication or social media. Read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case. Do research, consult dictionaries, internet, or reference materials. Do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or form or express any opinion regarding the case until it's finally submitted to you. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend. We'll see you Monday morning, 10:30.
More continuing coverage in the Las Vegas reporter murder trial of Robert Tellez is on the way. From the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today, press subscribe now.